You know, ladies and gentlemen, I cover the stories that a lot of times they don't want to speak about in the national media. Case in point of this video of one of our brothers. Now, you had one of our brothers in Douglas County out there in Georgia was found hanging from a tree. And I want you to hear this particular clip. It's the same old, same old. I told you guys how the race soldiers cover up these lynchings. Let's go ahead and roll that clip.
The thing I can think of is, racial activity. That's not the typical way for a black person to commit suicide, to hang themselves.
Keaton Stiles says it's hard to believe his brother Stephen would end things like this.
We used to tell each other all the time that, we all we got.
With his parents gone, he says he spoke to his older brother Stephen Stiles as often as he could.
He was a kind-hearted person. He was funny, like he loved a joke.
43-year-old Stephen went missing in February. Family says the timeline of his disappearance is unclear, but they sensed something was wrong when investigators found his car around the 20th. They say it was in the woods, not far from his grandparents' home on Mason Creek Road in Winston.
And the car was all messed up. Like the windows was busted out of it. His battery was taken from the car. And the inside of the car was full of mud.
Not far from the car, family says, was Stiles' lifeless body hanging from a tree. The Douglas County Sheriff's Office provided me with a death report that indicates Stiles was found, quote, deceased without the presence of a licensed physician, but doesn't provide further details. Representatives for the Sheriff's Office tell me they don't believe foul play was involved, although they are investigating vandalism to Stiles' car.
They were so quick to rule it a suicide.
Meantime, the Stiles family says this unexpected death has drawn them even closer together.
Now, as you heard, this brother has been missing since February. Now, the brother is 43 years old, as you know, Stephen Stiles. Now, they said that his car was vandalized. They found mud all in his car. OK, if he was supposedly going to do something to himself, why the mud all in the car? If he did it himself, that's just going with the race soldiers are saying. If he did it himself, it wouldn't be no mud in the car. It would be just he go to the location, do what he gonna do, and that's it. But one thing black people do not do. Black people do not, on average, lynch themselves from no trees. If you look at the research, black people are the lowest group in America to commit suicide. Black people, when they commit suicide, the main way they do it is through medication. The second way they do it is through gunshots. That's the two ways black people commit suicide for the most part. Not anything with lynching. Not at all. But we know that is this a response to the voting and everything that happened in Georgia? Because, this is what the white supremacists have done always, where black people have gained something. They're mad about those 2 Senate seats, too. Is it related to that? Because we know that a lot of the lynchings in American history has been behind politics and business. Those 2 things alone. They didn't want black people to vote. They didn't want black people to have any kind of political power at all. And they have terrorized black people for hundreds and hundreds of years. Now, you get outside of Fulton County and all of that area, Atlanta, that particular area. Outside of that area is nothing but, Trump country, literally. That's what it is. And you need to be careful in these southern states a lot of times. Well, be careful no matter where you go. Let me not just say that. But you definitely always got to keep your head on swivel out here. At all times, we are in a situation where our life could be taken, especially as black people, black men, definitely more in particular. Some of you, don't want to accept that. Some of you don't want to feel that you have to watch yourself. Sometimes these folks are what they're doing. They're not so sneaky with it. They just be watching you and you're not paying attention to certain cars following, certain areas you in. Like, see, I'm not trying to be no rural area at all on a good day. I don't like rural. That's you, that's what you want to do. But I don't like all that because, I notice a pattern here. The majority of these incidents, minus a few, happened in some sort of rural area. But I know we covered one where one happened at a hotel. I know we covered another where one happened off a bridge. I understand that. that do happen, but I'm talking about the majority of them has been some sort of rural area. But the thing is, black brothers, you better always pay attention to your surroundings, because these white supremacists are cowards. And notice something. They're not going to put together no task force to figure out why lynching is still going on in America. See, they're putting together all kind of task force talking about, anti-Asian hate, but they do not want to talk about lynchings. They don't want to talk about why is it we still seeing lynchings. In 2020, there were lynchings. So you remember they had 2 in California that we covered. They had another lynching at a hotel, and all they did, it was a suicide. And you look at the way the bodies are, you look at what happened, and they still say, oh yeah, it's a suicide. No medical examiner, no nothing. The police all of a sudden become medical examiner and say it's a suicide. And remember, I covered one in particular that we went to St. Louis with Donye Jones. And how, when I was explaining to how it happened to him, in no way he did that to himself. No way at all. He didn't roll his pants down to his ankles. He didn't have his hands tied behind his back on his own. How you going to say that's a suicide? And when you study lynchings, you understand there was classic ways they would lynch black folk. Well, you know what happened. Our great sister Ida B. Wells was covering that and exposing that too. They are still lynching black people in America. Nothing has changed. Even though with all this technology and all of that, you still need to be, careful out here. This is why a lot of brothers and sisters, especially in 2020, they start, looking into practicing their Second Amendment rights, because we can't depend on the police to protect us. I mean, we never had their protection. That's a benefit of white supremacy for the Mzungu. We never had that protection. They really don't protect them either, if you really think about it, but they protect them more than they protect us. But they're not going to investigate this. Sure, I would tell the family to put in a investigation, try to do it federally, but they are already covering for each other. You got to understand, these white supremacists are on the police departments. They cover for each other. That's why they say, yeah, it's a suicide. Now, one time have they ever said, you know what, this don't seem right? Even when the family come out and say, wow, this is not nothing that, he would do. Y'all need to look more into that. They don't. They say, no, it's suicide. That's it. And that's how these white supremacist groups get away with still lynching black people. The police or race soldier departments is working with the white supremacists to keep the lynchings covered. You understand? Y'all better understand that. We know our people. We know what black folks would do and what they won't do. And we telling you this is not what we do. This is still lynchings going on here in this wicked, land called Babylon. But leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about, this particular story. Brothers and sisters, y'all need to do more research into that on the ground yourself. That's what I would say. If you got some brothers and sisters that do private investigative work, get them on the case. Get somebody on the case, because you can't depend on them folks at all to bring any kind of justice to black people.